Good morning. Today is going to be a great day because you are still here. You are the hands and feet of God, and someone needs you. The other day, I was having a conversation with a young man about sex. My first response was to tell him to wait, that there was absolutely nothing wrong with abstinence and retaining his virginity. To wait for God to bless him with a wife designed for him. My focus is on marriage between a man and a woman as God designed and as detailed in the Bible. That being said, some people's thoughts may be different, and that is fine, knowing that I still love you and I will always treat you with respect. I was telling this young man to wait until marriage, to save himself for that special one. I personally was not always saved, so I know the ways of the world and the call that many feel when it comes to the carnal side of our lives, but the Word of God is very clear on the subject. The Bible is filled with historical stories on what happens when we allow sin, specifically in this case, sex, to lead our lives. I think we all know the story of David. David saw a woman, Bathsheba, bathing. He decided he wanted her. They laid together. She got pregnant. There was a cover-up. David ultimately sent her husband to the front lines of a battlefield where he ultimately died. Ultimately, their son from that event also died. His eyes led him to a place that he should never have gone. Today, not much has changed, except for instead of us looking over a balcony and seeing a woman bathe, we have TV, smartphones, tablets, and many other electronic devices that fill our eyes with sexually filled material. Our TV commercials no longer just show a bar of soap being sold. We now see the person in the shower all lathered up. What we see has an impact on what we think and how we behave. What we sometimes fail to recognize is the backside of sharing ourselves with another person outside of marriage. As I mentioned before, I wasn't always saved. I'm not trying to judge you, trying to shame you, or make you feel bad, just to get you to thinking the next time he or she approaches you with tender words in a dim lit room with candles burning. Okay, y'all need to focus, right? The Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 7:13, "It is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, because of sexual morality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Let the husband render to his wife the affections due to her, and likewise the woman to her husband." It's also in 1 Corinthians 8-9, it says, "Now to the unmarried and the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn." I read somewhere that the average person has 6 to 7 physical relationships with the opposite sex within their lifetime. Honestly, that number sounds a little modest, but I pray those numbers are completely wrong, that is a lot less. But if so, I want you to understand what happens the moment we give ourselves into physical desires outside of marriage. I thought I needed a good way to help you visually see what happens, and I think I figured it out. I asked 7 ladies to do me a favor. Without telling them why, I asked each to cut a hole in my t-shirt. There's an old saying, with each person we lay with, a piece of us is gone, and we have a permanent spiritual connection to that person for a lifetime. Would it not be better to have a permanent spiritual connection to your husband or wife? My hope and prayer is that you turn from sexual immorality and the problems it can bring into our lives, to avoid the physical desires of the world and run toward God and his ways, to keep yourself into marriage, to wait for the man or wife that God has created just for you, to live a righteous and holy life. As you can see in this shirt, if I stand up a little bit, you can see the holes. And there were 7 different women. These holes started out small, but after you had a number of people add to it, you can see the damage it did to my shirt. And remember, with every person we lay with, we have a spiritual connection to them for life. That's one less thing that I can give to my husband or my wife. I pray this resonates with you. I pray you think on this. And if you want to, share this with your kids, the mature kids who would understand what you're trying to get across to them, probably more like teenagers or something like that. But I hope this comes across, you understand. And if you have a question, let's talk about it. But until I see you, God bless. And remember, reach one, inspire all. May God bless you this day. May you keep you safe, and may you have a blessed weekend. God bless. Talk to you soon.